Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Paramarishibhyo Namah Paramarishibhyah Harihi Om. Yasyantanadi madhyam naikaracharanam namagotram nasutram no jatirnaiva varnana bhavati purusho nanapumsam nachastri nakaram no vikaram nahi janimaranam nasti punyam na papam tattvam no tattvam sahaja samarasam sadgurum tam namami sadashivasamarambham shankaracharya madhyamam अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् अपार सच्चित् सुखवारि राशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि देहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकमहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तदभावसुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्ट्वात्मनिष्ठात्मनां सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. My pranams to Parama Pujya Yoga Swarupanji Maharaj, Advaita-Vedanta Maharaj, and many Swamis who have assembled here, and Sri Atmananda Maharaj suddenly invaded into my silent retreat with love. So I could not resist. So I'm here. And of course, as Swamiji said, it is not my first talk, because on the very first day of Sannyāsa there was a talk. After that also there was a talk. And Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi remained most of the time in Mauna, and he has put me in such a state that talking is my way. So Swamiji has given me a subject to talk, that is Sannyāsa. I think he is making me remember. So, and he has also sent me the book written by Abhishektanji Maharaj about Sannyāsa. It is a very vast subject and very most profound also. Because what is sannyas? Sannyas is Atma, it is Swaswarupa. Sannyas is not something which we can take or which we can give. Aheyam anupadeyam. It is not something which we can take or which can be given up. Sannyāsa, this is the word. Sam means very well, perfectly, precisely. This is the prefix, sam. Nyāsa, samyak swarupe avasthanam. Sannyasa means perfect abidance in one's swarupa. So that is sannyasa. Shankaracharya said, Jnanam sannyasa lakshanam. It has two meanings. One meaning is Jnanam, Atmajnanam, or knowledge of the self is the sign of sannyasa. If you put it reverse, sannyasa is the sign of self-knowledge. Because when self-knowledge comes, naturally renunciation has to happen. The renunciation of the non-self, anatma tyaga. And atma-jnana comes, naturally anatma drops off. And swarupa avasthiti happens. So when there is a book called Ramana Gita, it is written by Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni, where he asks Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi about all the ashramas. And Maharshi gives him answer. He spoke about Brahmacharya ashrama, then Grihastha ashrama, then Vanaprastha ashrama, and stopped. Did not speak about Sannyasa ashrama. He gave the lakshana, the sign of Brahmachari, Grihastha and Vanaprastha, and stopped there. Then Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni asked, Bhagavan, you have not spoken about sannyasa. Then Maharshi said, Tapasa dagdha papanam tapasa dagdha papasya pakvachittasya yoginaha chaturthashramaha kale swayameva bhavishyati. When one becomes ripe enough through true tapas. Tapas means jnanam is tapas. And in fact renunciation is tapas. Nyasa yesham tapasam atiriktamahuhu. Mahanarayana Upanishad is the greatest authority for sannyasa dharma. So there it says tapasam atiriktamahu. It is the supreme tapas. Tapas is not doing something, it is renouncing. To give up is tapas. Nyasa yesham tapasam atiriktamahuhu. Nyasa yevatyarechayat. Shankaracharya very often quotes this in his bhashyam. Nyasa yevatyarechayat. Renunciation is the supreme. It is the greatest tapas. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagenaike amritatvamaanashuhu. You cannot find fulfillment through action, not by progeny or wealth, but by total renunciation one finds amritatva. Because amritatva is not outside. Amritatva is our own very nature. It is the very nature of the self. So you are just renouncing what is not. You are just renouncing the idea that I am the body, or I am the mind, or I am the ego. When all this non-self is renounced, brahmajnanena yatnaha karyaha. Shankaracharya says, effort is not put in brahmajnana, but only in removing the obstacles, giving up the ignorance. When avidya is removed, then you know that what exists in you as your own self is Atma. I will tell you one story. because everywhere we need some story. So one day, Ramana Maharshi was sitting in his sabha in hall. It was so silent, as usual. And some devotees have kept a lot of fruits. Then a monkey, a female monkey, a mother monkey with its baby in its tummy came there and was trying to take a fruit. At that time the servant there, he just drove it out. Just drove it out. Seeing that, Maharshi became very much affected. He said, we call ourselves sannyasis, and when things come, we all take them and keep it inside the lock and key and keep the key here. But when a real sannyasi comes, we are not giving anything to it. So Maharshi says the monkey is a real sannyasi. It has no home. It is not storing anything, not for tomorrow. It is living a true sannyasa dharma, and we are not giving anything. Saying this, he called the monkey. You come. Wow, wow. And that monkey came there, and there was a bunch of banana there. It took a single banana from that bunch. Took a single banana and went away. Seeing that, Maharshi looked at the servant and said, Nama mohathala kariya techitu porava. In Tamil, he said, she is putting black charcoal in our face because we want to possess everything, while that monkey comes and takes a single banana for its hunger and it's going away. So it is true sannyasa. So tyaga is sannyasa, renunciation is sannyasa. But when renunciation happens, the first meaning given to it is that abidance in the self becomes natural. Yogaschitta vritti nirodha tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Chittavritti happens because of I and mine. When outer things are considered real, naturally mind operates. Thoughts come. You can put a stop to thought by some technique, by doing japa or buying Raja Yoga, you can stop. But again the mind will operate until you remove the cause for the agitation. The cause for agitation is that you think the world outside is real and things there are real. I want this, I don't want that. Ragadvesha is there. Attachment and aversion are there. Till they are there, the mind will work. But when attachment and aversion are removed, avidya is removed, the ahankara is removed, then attachment and aversion, they also go, then the mind naturally become quiet. Shanti or peace is our real nature. The mind naturally becomes quiet. When the mind naturally becomes quiet, swarupe avasthanam. Then the mind abides in the self. And that abidance in the self is samyak nyasa. Another meaning for sannyasa is putting everything in order. Samyak means very well. Nyasa means keeping the things where they should remain. Agnirme vachishritaha vag hridaye hridayam mayi aham amrite amritam brahmani. This is called laghunyasa in Veda. So here, the entire world, we behold the world through the senses. So first you know that the world exists in the senses. So you keep the world picture in the senses. And the senses are folded into the mind and kept there. And the mind is folded back to the heart. Every day in deep sleep, the mind goes back to the heart, and there only the truth exists. When the mind subsides in the heart, the body disappears, the world disappears, the I disappears, everything disappears, only sukham, aham asvapsam, nakinchit avedisham. Nothing is known. Only that existence was there. So this happens every day, a demonstration of the path that we have to take. The inner being is giving a demonstration every day. And in Vedanta Vichara, you consciously go there. Consciously trace the mind to its source. Consciously seek where from the mind arises. And go back to the heart center and abide there. And that is Swarupe Avasthanam. Tada Drashtuhu Swarupe Avasthanam. Then the seer abides in his real nature, in his Swarupa. So that Swarupa Avasthiti is Sannyāsa. As we said, Sannyāsa has very, very vast area of exploration. So many books are there regarding Sannyāsa, Narada Parivrajaka Upanishad and Kaushitiki. Many are being quoted for taking Sannyāsa Ashrama. But really, the simple definition that Shruti has given is Putreshanayaha, Vitteshanayaha, Lokeshanayascha Vyuthaya, Atha Bhikshacharyam Charanti. They transcend all the desires for worldly things and just move about in the bliss of the self, Atma Anubhuti. The jnana becomes vijnana there. First Shravana, then Manana, then Nididhyasana. Sannyasa is being defined in two ways by Vidyaranya Swami as Vividisha Sannyasa and Vidvat Sannyasa. As Swamiji said, that Chidananda Swamiji said that Ajatananda Swami's Sannyasa was Vidvat Sannyasa. So Vidvat Sannyasa can happen directly from Brahmacharya Ashrama or Grihastha Ashrama. Brahmacharyadeva grihi bhaved grihi bhutva vani bhaved vani bhutva pravrajet athava brahmacharyadva grihadva vanadva is the vakya. So from Brahmacharya one goes to Grihastha and from Grihastha one goes to Vanapastha and Vanapastha to Sannyasa Ashrama. Ashramad ashramam gachet nanyatha matparascharet. In Bhagavatam it comes like that. From ashrama, you go to another ashrama. But don't come reverse form. Nanyatha matparascharet. So this is the method. So there, sometimes this Vidvat Sannyasa can happen in Grihastha Ashrama, or sometimes directly from Brahmacharya Ashrama. Sometimes from Vividisha Sannyasa Ashrama, the Vidvat Sannyasa Ashrama can happen. So generally, Sannyasa Ashrama is, in the Vedic tradition, it is a way to be free of all the rituals. Those who have led a ritualistic way of life, for them, a stage comes that they want to do only Nididhyasana. We don't want to unnecessarily engage in rituals. So there, Vihita karmanam vidhina parityagaha. All the prescribed rites are given by prescribed method. And that prescribed method is Sannyasa Ashrama. So this is the general way. So for those who have come in the Vedic way, for them, of course that doesn't suit for all. It is not for all, but those who have lived that kind of life, for them, they do Prajapatyashti, and even Abhishektan Swamiji has written about all that in his Sannyasa book. They do Prajapatyashti and they do a Samvitti Karma. And when they naturally become ripe, it is just like a very sweet, ripe fruit falls from the tree. Like that, leads a very disciplined Vedic life, then at last the real sweetness comes from inner jnana and they just renounce. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. That is what Bhagavata puts it very beautifully. Nigama kalpataru. Veda is like a kalpataru. It can give you anything that you desire. And this is the ultimate fruit. It just falls from that tree and becomes free, absolutely free. So Sannyāsa ashrama is for freedom. But sometimes, in this Smriti Prokta Sannyāsa, you become bound. There are a lot of rules. That Danda Grahana is there. So it has so many niyamas there. But when one becomes a Vidvat Sannyasi, a Paramahamsa Sannyasi, he just becomes absolutely free. Vedanta Vakyeshu Sadaramantaha Bhikshannamatreena Chatushtimantaha Ashokavantah Ashokamantah Karane Charantaha Kaupinavantah Khalu Bhagyavantaha. No desire, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogadana Atmanyevatmana tushtaha Sthita prajnastadochyate. As Bhagavad Gita says, this is sannyasa, giving up, relinquishing all desires, delighting in one's own self, and seeing everyone as the Atma. Sarva Bhuta Suhrit. Bhagavata, the last teaching Krishna gives to Uddhava, and he says, now you move about in the world as the friend of all. Sarva Bhuta Suhrit Shantaha Jnana Vijnana Nishayaha. The jnana has borne its fruit. It has become Vijnana. It has become Nirvikalpanubhava. All the duality has ceased, and you are established in the self. Jnana Vijnana Nishayaha Pashyan Madatmakam Vishvam. You see the entire world as my form, as the Atma. Navipadyed. Now no more danger for you, because any duality is danger. Anything other than the self for a jnani is a danger, because attachment will come or aversion will come and the mind will be born. Mind is the result of ignorance. Mind is the symptom of ignorance. So mind cannot be that easily removed. Perfect jnana is needed. When jnana happens, mind ceases. Because mind, you see a serpent, the famous example. You see a snake in a rope. It does not exist. So you cannot drive it out. The only thing that is needed is, it is not even your sincerity. I am very sincere, so I will meditate, there is no snake. It will not go. You chant some mantra and do avahanam of the snake and put it outside, it will not go. Because it does not exist. The only way is you have to take a light and look there and see that there is no snake. Like that, this Jiva Bhava also like the serpent only. This Jiva Bhava, this Ahankara, I want mukti, I am bound. When people used to say like this, Ramana Bhagavan used to ask, who is this I? Who wants mukti? Who is bound? It is I. Who is this I? See, some scholars used to tell Ramana Bhagavan, if you will not send the Brahmastra, I will ask questions. Because this is Brahmastra. Who is asking this question? You cannot ask any more question. But that is the blessing, that is the anugraha. So when you say this I, this Jiva Bhava arises. And what is this I? What is this aham? When you inquire, then you find that the body is not the I, the mind is not the I, the intellect is not the I. And what remains is that Satchidananda Vastu, that Purna Bodha, that pure consciousness. The story of Shankaracharya, it goes that he walked the entire distance from Kerala to Madhya Pradesh, Narmada, Omkareshwar, and met Govinda Bhagavatpada. When Govinda Bhagavatpada asked him, who are you? This is the first question that Govinda Bhagavatpada asked. Then itself Shankaracharya said, I am not this body or mind. Na bhumir na toyam na tejo na vayuhu na kham nendriyam va na tesham samuhaham anaikantikatvat sushuptyeka siddhas tadego vasishta shivah kevaloham. I am that Shiva. I am that pure awareness, auspiciousness. I am nothing to do with this body or mind or the conglomeration of this Panchabhuta. I am the Shuddha Satchidananda Vastu. Even in deep sleep, what exists, everyone experiences it in deep sleep. Sushupti eka siddhaha. In Sushupti, everyone is experiencing but without knowing. Aharahar gachanti, gachantyah na viduhu. Every day you go to that state and come back and without recognizing. But when you have the Shravana Jnana, that Vedanta is heard, then you contemplate, then you inquire, what is my real nature? What is in me as my existence, as the real implied essence of my I, aham, aham. Then you find that what exists in deep sleep exists now also, here. It is there. Your real nature is bodiless, mindless, egoless. There is no bondage there. It is Nirvana Sukha Swarupa. So Shankaracharya declared that I am that Shiva. I am Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. When Shankaracharya later on, see, every teacher will encounter a disciple like this. So when Shankaracharya was moving about, he in Karnataka, in a village, it was Sri Bali is that village. There many Brahmin scholars were there. One day one elderly person, he brought his son. His name was Prabhakara. He said, Acharya, this son of mine is already 13 years old, but he will not speak, he will not respond to anything, but he is very peaceful. But I could not even do the Yajnopavita ceremony for him. I could not teach him anything. He just remains like a dull boy. But we know he is not dull because we took him to many Ayurvedic physicians. They said he is very intelligent, but we don't know why he is keeping quiet. The moment Shankaracharya saw that boy, he understood he is a Brahmanishta. He is keeping quiet like Jadabharata to escape from the world. So Shankaracharya asked, my dear child, who are you? Kastvam shisho kasya kutosi ganta kim namate tvam kuta agatosi etanmayoktam vadachar bhagatvam mat pritaye priti vivardhanosi. When I see you, so much priti, so much love comes to me. Who are you? What is your name? Where are you coming from? Then all these years that boy was not looking at anyone. He was just gazing at vacant space. His eyes were like that. Tad Vishnoho paramam padam sada pashyanti surayah. Diviva chakshuratatam. It was like Diviva chakshuratatam, like looking at the vacant space. His eyes were like sky. It was like infinity. Suddenly he looked at the teacher. The great Jivan Mukta was sitting before him, and it was like a roar of Vedanta. He said, Naham Manushyaha. He said, I am not a man. Naham Manushyo. Then are you a Deva? Na Deva Yakshau. I am not Deva or Yaksha. Then are you a Brahmachari? Na Brahmachari Grihi Vanastaha. I am not a Brahmachari or Grihastha or Vanaprastha. Then are you a Sannyāsi? Bhikshurna Chaham. I am not a Bhikshu. I am not even a Sannyāsi, he said. Then who are you? Nijabodha Rupaha. I am that pure consciousness, pure self, never bound by anything. Abhishektanji Maharaji says, this is true sannyasa, where he becomes atyashrami, not identifying with any ashrama. Because any ashrama is name for the body only. The body is called sannyasi, the body is called brahmachari, the body is called grihastha. But the true sannyasa is atyashrama. You go beyond navarnashramachara dharma, name dharana dhyana yogadayopi, anatmashrayoham mamadhyasaha anat tadego vasishta shivah kevaloham. I am that Shivam, pure awareness. And that awareness, that self, that pure consciousness was Ramana Maharshi. Maharshi's sannyasa was like that. And he constantly said, that is true sannyasa. To abide in the self is sannyasa. But again, as long as we are in the world, we need this tradition of sannyasa also. This tradition of sannyasa has many sides, many facets. Even in Advaita Sampradaya, Vishishtadvaita Sampradaya, there is sannyasa. So there sannyasa is for upasana, bhakti. To go away from the world and do bhakti to Bhagavan, that is sannyasa. Shivanji Maharaj gave sannyasa to innumerable people, innumerable aspirants, and most of them he taught upasana. You do japa, you do pranayama, you study, you practice brahmacharya, because in Vividisha sannyasa, upasana is very important. In Vividisha sannyasa, when you want to know, then upasana is needed, discipline is needed, sometimes selfless service is needed. All kind of practices are necessary for a Vividishu. Jitnyasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. In Gita, Bhagavan says, when jitnyasa comes, you go beyond the karmakanda portion. But when you want to attain the jnanam, preparing yourself, bhakti is needed. Bhakti cleanses the mind, and when the mind is sufficiently pure, it recognizes the self, Atma-jnana dawns. So when Atma-jnana arises, that is perfect sannyasa. After that, there is no niyama, there is no law, nothing binds him. When the knowledge of the self happens, then that blessed being is a true sannyasi. He is a paramahamsa, he is an atyashrami, he is not bound by any laws. Nistraigunye pathi vicharataha ko vidhihi ko nishedhaha. One who has gone beyond all the trigunas, no inhibition, no prohibition, because nothing wrong will happen from him. He is always Atma-dhyana nirata. He is not interested in anything else. He has taken sannyasa only to meditate, have that meditation on the self, undisturbed meditation, not to be disturbed by anything. To move away from everything that binds. No more can anyone bind him. Even Vedas cannot bind him. Scriptures cannot bind him. No teacher can bind him. No tradition can bind him, because all the bondage is cut asunder. Because when the ego is no more, when the jiva bhava is gone, there is no pillar to bind. The pillar is removed. And that is absolute freedom. Bhidyade hridaya granthihi chidyande sarva samshayaha kshiyande chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. His heart knot is cut asunder, all the doubts come to an end, and he is one with the Supreme, and he is constantly aware of his real nature. And once you become aware of the real nature, so somebody asked Bhagavan Ramana, should I not give up all my possessions? When Paul Brendan asked this question, Bhagavan said, the possessor too. He said, you give up the possessor too. Then another person asked this question, should I not give up all the possessions? Renounce? Then Maharshi said, the self has renounced everything, already renounced everything. Means the self is not attached to anything. Asango hyayam purusha. This is a Mahavakya. The self is asanga. The moment you know the self, as every day in deep sleep you see, whatever you carry in the waking state, you go there, it is all gone. Only the self is declaring, I am beyond all attachments. Nothing can stick to me. Alepavada. Nothing can stick to me. So when you know the self, you know by pramana, by authority, that there is no body, there is no mind. Still the body will be there, mind will be there, everything will be there. But just like a mirage, water is there, but when you go and see there, there is no water. Marumarichika. Like that, when you know in the deeper most being, you know that the body, the mind, ego, these are all not real. Satchidananda Ghana, that Vastu is my real nature, that Shivam is me, that conviction comes. that nishtha comes. Tad buddhayaha, tad atmanaha, tannishtaha, tad parayanaha, gachanti apunaravrittim, jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. For this only sannyasa. Sannyasa means your buddhi constantly meditates on the Atman, the self, the mind constantly meditates there, and your identity is with that. No more you identify with the ashrama, varna, anything. With the body, identity is given up. Such a person naturally cannot do vyavahara. So, he becomes avyavahari. There it is just like with pure gold you cannot make ornament. Some corruption is needed. Adulteration is needed. Then only you can become a samsari. But when you give up this adulteration, samsara comes to an end. Jnate tattve kahas samsara. When you have known the tattva, samsara comes to an end. When light comes, darkness goes. So too when you realize the self, ignorance is removed, avidya is gone, that shanti, that peace, that immense peace is the nature of the self. And that is mukti, and incessant peace is sannyasa. Sannyasa means shati. A sannyasi and disturbed mind don't go together. When a person is a sannyasi, that shanti must be there. Otherwise he becomes a samsari. So, sannyasa means shanti, and that comes by the grace of Shruti, Guru, Bhagavan. Shankaracharya says, till you drop your body, you should worship these three. Yavadayuhu tvaya vandyaha Vedanto Guruhu Ishvaraha. Till you are carrying the body, you have to worship Vedanta Shastra, you have to worship Guru, you have to worship Ishvara, Ishtadevata, who has given you this blessing. So these three must be held. Even Mahapurushas, they do this. Even Ramana Bhagavan, Shivanji Maharaj, all of them held to it. Even Ramana Maharshi never went away from Arunachala. And many devotees, I have stayed with many of them from my childhood. They used to say, the moment he looks at Arunachala, tears will come. Tears will flow. So that kind of bhakti was there inside. So that is very much needed. And Maharshi calls Arunachala as Shruti. He calls, you are the pratyaksha form, visible form of Upanishad, he says. Vedantate Verara Vilangum Veda Purul, he sings in Tamil. You are Veda Purul, the essence of Vedas. So the Upanishadic wisdom is there in the form of Arunachala. Upanishadic wisdom is there in the form of Ganga here. Ganga Mata means the Upanishad only. Jnana Pravaha Vimaladi Ganga. As Shankaracharya says, Jnana Pravaha is Ganga. When you have that Jnana Pravaha inside, you are carrying Ganga in your very being. So that Jnanam is Sannyasam. So again we quote Shankaracharya, Jnanam Sannyasa Lakshanam. With this, we are concluding here. Swamiji has asked me to speak a half an hour. I think I have taken 5 minutes more. Hara Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadev.
Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya